Hello, this is Craig and let's talk IK. So here's a character I built and I rigged up for Mecanim in Unity, and you can see that the character reaches out and touches the wall. I'm going to go ahead and teach you how I did that, and cover some of the gotchas that got me when I was originally doing this sort of thing. So the basic idea here is that in order to use IK, you use a couple of functions that are easy to find, and they are set IK position, set IK rotation, and then setting the weights for those things. But if you've tried it and those haven't worked, it's probably because of these gotchas that I'm about to teach you. So the first thing you have to do is on the object, and I'm talking about the object that contains the armature, on this object here, the one above the armature, you have to put a script that catches the IK event. Now, catching the IK event is just a matter of using the proper target, which is this on animator IK. This is the function that gets called, and you can go ahead and then set your IK targets and do your raycasting inside of this. In this case, I actually do 2 raycasts every frame, one for the right hand and one for the left hand. But you are welcome to optimize that however you'd like, obviously. Also, I slide into the weight. I don't just pop it to 1. I scale it up from 0 and then I scale it back down to 0. See? But if you've tried that and that also hasn't worked, then the problem is in your animator. In your Mecanim animator, you need to ignore those layers for now. You need to have IK pass clicked to on. Originally, I thought that IK pass and this is hard to see if you don't have more layers. If you've only got 1 layer, this is half cut off, so you have to really go ahead and look. Originally, I thought IK pass meant that IK goes through that layer, i.e., the layer doesn't override the IK. That's not the case. It just means that the layer actually calls the IK callback function. So if you've got 3 layers, like I do in this case, you only have to set IK pass on one of them unless you wanted to optimize it for some, in some way. Once IK passes on and you're using the event callback properly, IK should work just fine. Now, that is how you get IK to work. In this case, I've also got hand animations. So we'll go ahead and talk about how to get layers to work. And this is considerably more complicated for a lot of reasons, some of which are going to probably change in the next version of Unity, and by which I mean the next minor update. So I have it so that her hand's open when IK works. So I've got the left hand open and right hand open, and these are simply set to the IK weight. So that's, her hand opens and then stays open as long as there is IK weight being applied. So I have a specific animation which is very straightforward, and I just go from idle to that. Now, what the gotcha is, the biggest gotcha, is that this weight, which is set to 1, isn't set to 1. The default weight is 0, and you can't change it. You cannot change the default weight. The default weight of 1 is an illusion. It gets set to 0, so the layer never gets applied. The way that you fix that is on startup you set the layer weight to 1. And this is a gotcha that really is very hard to track down. If you're not looking for it because you assume that the weight of 1 is what it's supposed to be and what it actually is, you won't ever find it. So this is probably what's going wrong if you're not seeing anything happening. However, there are a lot of other gotchas in this. One of them is the mask. So let's go ahead and I'm going to remove the mask entirely, and we'll go ahead and see that's a left hand that I've just removed all the masks from. It works fine. What's going on? Well, as it turns out, I'm using additive, and the only animation bones that have been rotated at all in these animations are the hands. So even though I'm adding the rotation of all of the bones into the animation, that only really affects the hands. But what happens if I've got a hand animation in the walk cycle, which I do? She actually clenches her hand a little bit. So I want to actually override it, right? Well, when I override it, it breaks. And the reason for that is, of course, because I've just overridden everything. So that's what you use masks for, right? So let's go ahead and set that mask up again. So here is the left-hand mask. So I've just set the mask. And in case you're wondering what the mask is like, the mask is literally just this. It's just the left hand. Nothing else is applied. So that means that the animation should only be applied to the left hand. Oh, screw you, it breaks. It breaks really stupidly. I don't know what the hell's going on. Masks just don't seem to work. And in case you're wondering, if you set a bone mask instead, exactly, it stays just as damaged. In fact, I think it's even more damaged. So if you use both, still damaged. So masking doesn't work right. I don't know what's wrong with it, but it just doesn't work right. So in order to do sub-animations, you've got to be very careful about allowing additive animation to work, which means that you've got to design your animations very carefully. Another way to do it is you could scale down the layer with the initial animation and scale up the layer with the overrided animation. But either way, it's clear that the masks don't work in the way that they're supposed to work. And maybe there's some magical reason for that, but I tend to think it's just broken. And because of that, it'll probably be fixed in the near future. But right now it is busted, and that is the major gotcha you've got to watch out for. You can't rely on masking. Alright, so there's the tutorial on how to do this.